Hello everybody. So for this video, I am going to be trying Hunger Games Simulator on my top reads of 2025. I thought that this would be a very fun, very interesting, and somewhat unique idea, and I haven't really seen anyone do this. Obviously, I've seen like tier listings and like all of that stuff, but I thought that this would be fun and a bit more competitive because I am indecisive. And first off, let me get my drink. My drink for today is boba, which I ordered delivery. And this is the straw. I ordered the strawberry mango, and this, this is actually regular mango matcha. Strawberry mango, mango matcha, I believe this is, boba. Ooh, that was a nice one. And now to stir. This is my first time trying the strawberry mango matcha. The strawberry is my favorite, which is why I keep saying strawberry. The matcha itself is good. This is definitely mango, which is obviously what I ordered, but I got like also bits of mango, which I don't really like. Let's get into the books. So first, District 1, which was January. My top 2 reads were The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang and The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. You may notice that I don't have any pictures, but that's because I don't really know how to upload pictures into this, and I didn't really want to take the time to learn how, unfortunately. I do put a lot of effort into my videos. You guys do not see how much effort I put into it, but in this case, I really couldn't. Oh, wait. Oh, I got a stamp card from the boba place. I haven't gotten one of their stamp cards yet. And you get 10 stamps with this, and you get a free boba. And they also sent me a note. Anyway, so we have The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, Fox by Nadine Brandes, and The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This month wasn't really the best reading month. I think the best reading month that I had was December and maybe April. I had a lot of books that I actually loved from them. One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus, The Burning God by R.F. Kuang, Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. That one should be very obvious. And Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. It was between Mistborn and They Both Die at the End. And They Both Die at the End was so good. And District 5, we have Lethal Kings by Victoria McCombs. This is book 2 in the Mortal Queens duology. This was another April book that I could not choose because all of them were just so good. And Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. I love my Cassandra Clare. District 6, which is June, we have Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh and Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Yeah, I did read some pretty heavy books in June. I didn't love Red Rising, but out of all of the books in June, that was one of the ones that I still think about the most, which is most of how I judge this same as the Midnight Library. I still think about it today, even though I only gave it probably 3 stars. District 7, we have A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faziel and A Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. We will see a trend here soon. But July wasn't the greatest reading month for me. Defy the Night by Bridget Kemmerer and Empire of Storms by, you guessed it, Sarah J. Maas. If You Could See the Sun by, oh, I forgot her name, Anne Liang. I love her books. They are so good. And The Women by Kristen Hanna. If you guys know, then you know. And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie and A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. This was District 10. District 10 was October. And again, this wasn't the best reading month for me. In November, this was a kind of hard to choose, honestly. Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. I love R.F. Kuang. Catabasis isn't my favorite of them. In fact, today I was reflecting and I think that it might be my least favorite of hers, but I still loved it. I think I gave it like 4.5 stars. If we're judging based off of how often I think about it. If we're judging based off of like personal taste, then I would say Yellowface is my least favorite, which I read in November of the year before last. Last year. 2024. And then District 12, which was December, we had Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This was my second V.E. Schwab. The other one I read in August, which was District 8. I honestly should have chosen that for District 8 instead of Defy the Night, but we did what we did, okay? And I'm not going to edit the cast. And Kingdom of Ash by, you guessed it, Sarah J. Maas. And we are now going to proceed. As the tributes stand on their podiums, the horn sounds. It's now canon that during Hunger Games, the capital will drink boba. Okay. Swordcatcher grabs a shield leaning on the cornucopia. Lethal Kings runs away from the cornucopia. Iron Widow and A River Enchanted fight for a bag. A River Enchanted gives up and retreats. Honestly, against Iron Widow, against the main character as a character, yeah. The Poppy War runs away from the cornucopia. What are you doing, Rin? Vicious runs away from the cornucopia. What are you doing, Victor and Eli? Biting 13 rips a mace out of If You Could See the Sun's hands. These are one of the only 2 romances that we have. Fun. Miss Bourne runs away from the cornucopia. I can see why, but also not really. The Midnight Library runs into the cornucopia and hides. I guess that's where the library is now. Empire of Storms runs away from the cornucopia. One of Us is Lying runs away from the cornucopia. The Burning God runs away from the cornucopia. The 7-Year Slip grabs a backpack and retreats. Honestly, Clementine would. Sunrise on the Reaping runs away from the cornucopia. Sad. Imagine if Sunrise on the Reaping wins. Imagine Sunrise on the Reaping being here. Tempest of Tea runs away from the cornucopia. Defy the Night scares Red Rising away from the cornucopia. No, Defy the Night! Isn't Defy... No, they're not district mates. Kingdom of Ash runs away from the cornucopia. The woman grabs the backpack, not realizing it is empty. Aw, Frankie. And Then There Were None runs away from the cornucopia. Fox takes a sickle from inside the cornucopia. Catabasis runs away from the cornucopia. Honestly, I think Alice would. Queen of Shadows runs away from the cornucopia. And we are going to proceed. And as people die off, I will talk about what the books are about. The Poppy War discovers a cave. One of Us is Lying and the 7-Year Slip work together for the day. Interesting. Defy the Night practices his archery. Okay. Queen of Shadows makes a wooden spear. The Midnight Library, Tempest of Tea, A River Enchanted, and If You Could See the Sun raid Swordcatcher's camp while she is hunting. Huh. I kept the genders the same as I just like put them in. Vicious scares Fox off. Red Rising, Kingdom of Ash, Sunrise and Reaping, and Mistborn raid Catapix's camp while she is hunting. Those are the most high epic sci-fi fantasy probably on here, so they would. Iron Widow receives medical supplies from an unknown sponsor. Medical supplies. The woman sees smoke from the distance but decides not to investigate. Yeah, she probably knows better. Binding 13. Aw, picks flowers. Johnny and Shannon are just gonna be happy, frolicking in a field, and then die. Empire of Storms discovers a river. Okay. The burning god runs away from, and then there were none. You are a burning god, okay? Lethal Kings explodes the arena. Ooh. What did he do? No shots can be heard in the distance. Proceed. Night 1. A river enchanted tends to her wounds. Oh, I'm sorry. And then there were none. Sunrise on the Reaping, the Burning God, and the 7-year slip tell each other ghost stories to lighten the mood. What are you doing with them, the 7-year slip? You are light and kind of happy. Yes, you do deal with grief, but you're still light and happy. So why are you telling ghost stories with these people? With these people that will break you? Except in the run, that didn't really break me. The woman and Fox run into each other and decide to choose for the night. Honestly, I could see that. Iron Widow, Binding 13, Lethal Kings, Empire of Storms, and Catapix's sleep in shifts. Okay, I could see that. Tempest of Tea receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. Swordcatcher passes out from exhaustion. I'm sorry, Kel. I'm just like really talking to like the main characters. I should have made this the main characters. That would have been so interesting. I might do that for next year. Mistborn tends to Queen of Shadows' wounds. Aw, Vin and Aelin are amazing, powerful girls. I love them. One of us is Slime and Vicious sleep in shifts. Okay, makes sense. Midnight Library and Defy the Night sleep in shifts. I just said that one of us is Slime and Vicious working together makes sense. That doesn't. Red Rising stays awake at night. Yeah, he would, honestly. The Poppy War looks at the night sky. Okay. Aw, Kingdom of Ash thinks about home. If you can see the sun, tends to his wounds. Proceed. No one dies. Boo. No one is dead. Probably my favorite book is gonna die in here. These are all my favorite books, so I'm just preparing for the worst. Kingdom of Ash, Fox, and A River Enchanted hunt for other tributes. Sunrise on the Reaping runs away from a Tempest of Tea. Huh. Yeah, that's probably smart. Empire of Storms searches for a water source. If you could see the sun, Binding 13, Iron Widow, the woman, and one of his line hunt for other tributes. Vicious sets off an explosion, killing Swordcatcher, Mistborn, and there were none. No, Mistborn. I'm sad for you, Mistborn. Okay, can move on. The Poppy War travels to higher ground. Okay, nice. Probably a good plan. Defy the Night discovers a cave. Nice. Catapix's fishes. Queen of Shadows falls into a pit and dies. That's a horrible way to die. The Burning God searches for a water source. The Midnight Library steals from the 7-year slip while she isn't looking. That's sad. Red Rising attacks Lethal Kings, but he manages to escape. Good for you. Now, drum please. The dead of day 2. 4 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. Swordcatcher, District 5. Mistborn, District 4. And then there were none. District 10 and Queen of Shadows, District 7. We can look at the statuses. Who has the most kills? Vicious with 3 kills. Yeah, that's very vicious. Yeah, I know, my humor is amazing. And then we have 4 deceased. We're going back to the fallen tributes. We are respecting the fallen tributes. Proceeding. Empire of Storms receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor. She can win, honestly. Especially since, you know, firepower. Empire of Storms receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor. We just had that. 7-year slip starts a fire. Could be a good idea. Maybe it couldn't. Lethal Kings tries to sing himself to sleep. A couple lullabies. Tempest of Tea, Fox, and Red Rising sleep in shifts. I could sort of see Tempest of Tea and Red Rising working together. Maybe Tempest of Tea and Fox, because Fox is historical fantasy and like Tempest gives historical fantasy vibes. Midnight Library sets up camp for the night. That's a good idea. Binding 13 wrecks a river enchanted into your shelter. That could be really sweet, or it could be a trap. Kingdom of Ash tends to her wounds. That's good. Iron Widow is unable to start a fire and sleeps without much warmth. Boo-hoo. We're so sad. Moving on. The woman is woken by nightmares. Yeah, probably of her past explosions. Sunrise on Reaping attempts to climb a tree, but falls on Defy the Night, killing them both. Sunrise on the Reaping is dead in a Hunger Games simulator! Anyway, one of us is lying, passes out from exhaustion. Vicious and the Poppy will run into each other and decide to choose for the night. Yeah, I could see them working together. I could see that. If you could see the sun tends to his wounds, Burning God goes to sleep, Catabasis sets up for the night. And I realized that we didn't go over what the books are about, so we will do that next, after more people die. After we hear the cannons. Okay. Midnight Library receives fresh food. That's nice. Red Rising poisons a Tempest of Tea's drink, but mistakes it for his own and dies. But I'm sad that Red Rising has gone. I still haven't gone on to Golden Sun, but I really need to. Kingdom of Ash catches 7-year slip off guard and kills her. 7-year slip? I know my reactions are tad dramatic, but this is the type of video where I want to be dramatic, okay? I want to let out the dramatique in me. Fox tries to spear a fish with a trident. Yeah, Thomas would definitely be unsuccessful. The woman explores the arena. The Poppy War camouflages himself into the bushes. I think Rin would take a more proactive route, but Kitai, probably not. Iron Widow bashes a River's Enchanted head in with a mace. Iron Widow would do that, but why a River Enchanted? You're sweet and cozy and I want to cuddle up with you. Anyway, Empire of Storms receives clean water from an unknown sponsor. If you could see the sun, tries to sleep through the entire day. Binding 13 accidentally detonates the landmine while trying to arm it. Unfortunately, that's something I think that they would do, but I don't want them to do it because I like them too much. Lethal Kings makes a wooden spear. Vicious tells one of his lion's wounds. Ooh, do we see something here? Maybe a little bit of romance. Maybe not. Okay. Proceed. 6 cannon shots can be heard in the distance. That's like 10 tributes gone on day 3. That's kind of fast, especially with like nobody dying in the bloodbath. Sad. Statuses. Okay. 7-year slip, deceased. 7-year slip. We follow Clementine. And she basically, her aunt died. And left Clemmy the apartment, and what Clementine didn't entirely believe that her mother had always told her, aunt had always told her, was that the apartment was sometimes set 7 years in the past. And so we meet the guy who was staying in the apartment for 7 years ago, when the aunt and Clementine were away on vacation, and the two of them fell in love. And it's a sad but good, it's not a sad story, it's a good story, and it talks a lot about grief and cooking, and I love cooking. And that's probably part of why I loved it so much, because I love cooking. And then, what else? Content, there's definitely some swearing and LGBTQ plus, lesbian specifically, relationships, not main character, obviously. I forgot the guy's name though. That's sad. And mentions of sex, by like, oh yeah, they do have a couple on page scenes, so I would say spicy, but maybe like 2 chili peppers. I've read spicier, and I don't really read spice. Anyway, District 4 is entirely gone, with Sunrise on the Reaping and Mistborn dead in the same day, the same time, I assume. Take a moment and silence for these amazing people. And then, okay. Sunrise on the Reaping. Basically, we follow Hamish Abernathy and his story, and he was the mentor of Katniss in the original Hunger Games, and I cried, and I don't really want to tell you much else more because of spoilers, but I cried. And then Mistborn was also really good. I don't think a lot of people really know what Mistborn is about, because like, I myself had heard about it, and I loved it, clearly, or else I wouldn't have put it in here. And I didn't really know what it was about. I just knew that it was by Brandon Sanderson, and I wanted to get into his works, and I heard that this was the best place to dive into him. And basically, we follow 2 people, Kelsier and Vin. And Kelsier is like a guy, he just escaped from these mines, and like nobody's supposed to escape them. Anyway, and he decides to make up this heist situation where they have to kill the Emperor, and he's supposed to be like basically unkillable almost. And then this is where Vin comes in. Vin, she was a street thief, kind of like, I don't know if she's a thief or what she was, but like she was living on the streets, and Kelsier kind of like takes her in, and he is the guy that, she is the girl that he is sending in as like kind of like a spy, to like spy on the corpse, find out all of their strengths and weaknesses, and like plant different rumors and like cause division, and then everything at the end goes kaboom. Swordcatcher is also dead. First off, if any of you guys are interested in getting into Cassandra Clare but want something a bit less overwhelming, this series is not a part of the Shadowhunter worlds at all. I don't really have much else to say about that. We follow Kel, and he looks almost identical to the prince, so he becomes what they call his swordcatcher. So like, if the prince is ever in a situation where they might like think that might be dangerous for him, Kel becomes his replacement, basically, except like the population doesn't really know that it's him. And then we also follow Lynn, I think that's her name, and she is a healer from like this marginalized community within like in this world. And there's not much else that I can really say because I don't remember a lot from this. I read Swordcatcher in December. I finished it, and so I obviously remember a lot more from there. And so all of the stuff that I am remembering from there, I'm sorry, I meant the Ragpicker King. I read the Ragpicker King in December, and so all of the stuff that I'm thinking of, I remember from being in the Ragpicker King, and I can't think of really much else. Binding 13, dead. Binding 13, we follow, I was gonna say Chloe, it's by Chloe Walsh, Shannon, and she has like, she starts going to this new school, and she kind of has this meet cute with Johnny, and he is the captain of the rugby team, and because this is Ireland, and he kind of like takes, he's like kind of like enraptured by her, and like they start getting closer and closer, and he helps her with a lot of, or tries to help her with a lot of the stuff that she's going through, tries to find out what she's going through because she doesn't really feel safe talking about it. And I love them so much. I did cry at the end. Not of Saving 13. Saving 13? Keeping 13. I still have yet to continue the series. I'm still gonna read, I think it's not Taming 7. Saving 6? Saving 6, I think. Red Rising. We have a lot of our, like, we have a fighter girl killed. I forgot what they're called in Hunger Games, I'm really sorry. And 4 fighter guy and fighter girl for District 4, that's sad. Anyway, Red Rising, we follow Darrow. And Darrow, this isn't much of a spoiler, it happens like in the first 5 to 10 chapters maybe. In the first 20% of the book, which I consider anything within the first 20% of a book to not be really a spoiler. And I've yet to continue the series. But basically, Darrow, his wife just died. And like they were married from a young age. She was 14 at least, and he was 16, I think. Anyway, that alone is sad. And he kind of becomes recruited for this mission to infiltrate this academy. And in this world, there are these like ranks, and the lowest that you could get, that you are, is red. And like you're kind of born into these ranks. You don't really achieve them at all. And the highest is gold. And so he is recruited to infiltrate the Gold Academy. And most of this is his time at the academy, but it's like not quite really what you think. Don't expect any type of academia from this. That's kind of what I expected, and I was unfortunately disappointed because I'm not gonna say anything else. District 7, Queen of Shadows, is dead. This is book 4 in Throne of Glass series, and I'm also this is the only time that I'll be talking about like what the Throne of Glass series is about. And basically we follow Selena Sarathian, and she is this assassin. She is the world's best assassin, at least in the country. Not sure about the entire world, but she's the best assassin. And she was in the punishment camps, and she's taken out of the punishment camps by Prince Dorian to participate in the king's trial to become the king's assassin. That's really the most that I have to say. And the king is evil. The king is evil. And there's like a little bit of a love triangle in the first couple books between Dorian and Kale. I don't love Kale. I love Dorian. I'm a Dorian girly. A bit of a Rowan girly too, but like not as much. Anyway. Now, Defy the Night. We only have a couple more dead, so I'm not going to be talking for a little bit longer. We follow Tessa and the male main character, Korik, I think is his name. Tessa, it was this like illegal healer, because like there's this plague going around the city, and like people are only allowed to take a certain amount of doses each day, but like the dose a lot of times isn't enough, so she's like giving them extra doses, and then she accidentally ends up in the palace and in the clutches of Prince Korik. That's really all I'm gonna say, because I don't really remember much of like what it was about at the beginning, more towards the end, but not really at the beginning. But it's a really good story, and I highly suggest it. I feel like it had a lot of what was missing from Powerless, but not feeling like it was a Hunger Games knockoff, because like it's not Hunger Games knockoff. There's like no trials and stuff, but it had the vibe that I wanted from Powerless. And also I love Korik and Tessa a lot more. Anyway, District 10, both people in District 10 dead. And then there were none. This is an Agatha Christie classic. I really like Agatha Christie. This is the second book that I've read from her. The first one was Murder on the Orient Express, and I love that book. Basically, there's this group of people who are put together like on an island. That are like brought together. They have no connections, but like they are all invited to this island, all of them for different reasons. And then slowly but surely they all start dying off. And so they have to like kind of figure out what or like who did it. And one thing I love about Agatha Christie is you cannot predict who it was, or if you can't predict like how they did it. Like there's always some questions that you're going to have until the end, and then the end there's like the big gathering of like people, and the main detective lays out all the clues and then names the person. And I actually love that format. I don't know why, but I love it. Maybe it reminds me a little bit of Adventures in Odyssey. I was an Adventures in Odyssey girly, and let me tell you, I loved it. I'm sorry I haven't been talking about the content and some of the stuff. I'll just go over the content in a little bit, in a minute. And then River Enchanted, this is by Rebecca Ross. I love Rebecca Ross. I read The Queen's Rising and Resistance by her, and then Divine Rivals, which I loved. I loved both of them, and this was my 5th book by her. I think so far this might be my least favorite of her series, because I still think about The Queen's Rising and Resistance like even 2 or 3 years after I read it, same as Divine Rivals. We follow Jack, I think that's his name. He's originally from this island, and the island is divided into 2 peoples, and like the 2 tribes are fighting, and Jack is a bard, and bards are very rare on this island, and like there's like these things with spirits, and Jack can play to the spirits, like the wind spirits, the earth spirits. There might be the fire spirits, and definitely the water spirits. And it is such a good book. It's very cozy. I wouldn't expect anything super high stakes unlike a lot of these fantasies that I have. Anyway, content, Mistborn. So we're just skipping to Mistborn. Not much. There's a little bit of language. There are I think from what I remember, there's like a goriness, and also we do see a guy naked, but he is a eunuch. I'm not going to explain much further. And then sword capture. There are in this book off-scene stuff that happens, and then there is some language, and I don't want to say spirituality, but like there is this God that is very similar to the God of Judaism. I'm not going to say Christianity because with the New Testament, the God of Judaism and the God of the Bible, while they are the same person, people believe different things about them at the core. And when I say the God of Judaism, that's what I'm talking about. And so there are some very similar beliefs with that, and I actually kind of like that. There's lots of like debauchery, I guess you would say. Binding 13, there's a lot of languages. This one, if you're a Christian, I would honestly stay away from it. Please. Do yourself a favor. There's a lot of language, and I do feel awkward talking about this on the internet, but the male main character had a surgery in his area, and in his POV he keeps talking about it and keeps talking about it and keeps talking about it, and it gets so annoying. Red Rising, definitely adult content, not like with regards to sex or anything. There's definitely some language. There's lots of bloodiness. If you liked Gladiator, I haven't seen Gladiator, but if you liked that, from what I understand, you might like it. I'm not sure if there's any language in Gladiator, but I think they might have similar content. I don't know. Queen of Shadows, not really. I don't think there's any on-page stuff in this book. Definitely some language, and there's definitely some content to talk about, but for this entire series is on pluggedin.com, and they basically give reviews of the content in those books, and I don't really have much else to say for that. Defy the Night, there's really nothing. It's lower young adult. There's like no sex, not really any swearing, not really any language. Language and swearing are not the same thing. Not much else that I remembered, at least. And then there were none, obviously. Murder. Same with The River Enchanted. I remember a little bit more of it now. Basically, there are these girls that are going missing, and they have to like kind of figure out why. Anyway, now Iron Widow has 1 kill. Vicious, 3 kills. Kingdom of Ash, 1 kill. Proceed. Tempest of Tea tries to sing herself to sleep. Oh, baby. Poppy Or sees a fire, but stays hidden. Honestly, Rin could have just like blown up that fire. But it's a good idea to stay hidden. Oh, one of us is lying, is unable to start a fire and sleeps without warmth. Slay. Not Slay. Sorry. Empire of Storms passes out from exhaustion. No, they've been walking too much. They've been fighting too much. Sleep. Lethal Kings questions his sanity. Honestly, so am I playing this game. Catabasis severely injures Iron Widow, but puts him out of his misery. You could have just killed him in the first place, you know. The woman receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. I can see how Frankie would use this. Definitely. Midnight Library receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. I don't know how our main character would use that. And I also forgot her name. Vicious sees a fire but stays hidden. Probably the same fire as the Poppy War. If you could see the sun, our sweet, precious romance kills Kingdom of Ash with a hatchet. No, baby. Kingdom of Ash broke me. Broke me. The Burning God lets Fox into a shelter. Thomas, I would not trust that, okay? Rin's got some stuff up her sleeve. Clearly. Tempest of Tea reaches for firewood. Oh, I'm gonna have my drink. Burning God receives a hatchet from an unknown sponsor. The Poppy War thinks about home. Empire of Storms chases fishes. Sad. Catabasis discovers a river. If you could see the sun, thinks about home. Midnight Library discovers a cave. One of Us is Lying, Lethal Kings, and Fox track down and kill the woman. Yeah, Lethal Kings, you are very lethal there. Proceed. Okay. 3 dead. We're not going to talk about Kingdom of Ash because we already talked about Throne of Glass. Though Kingdom of Ash does have spice, has a little bit of spice, but like compared to the rest of the book, it's like not much at all. No. Iron Widow. Basically, we follow, like, we're in this sci-fi world that's based off of China, ancient China, I think. We follow this girl, I forgot her name, and the girls, when they are in this fighter pilots things, they are supposed to die, but she goes into the fighter pilot thing with the intention of killing the pilot, and she survives and she kills the pilot, but like not in the way that she thought she would, and then she has to deal with the aftermath of that. And then The Woman by Kristen Hanna. I love The Woman so much. It did make me cry. We follow Frankie, and she lives in a legacy of where all of the men died war heroes, and she wants to become a war hero, but she isn't really allowed to because men, you know, misogyny. We love misogynistic beasts. Anyway, she isn't allowed to fight, and then she decides to sign up as a fighter nurse, and then so she does, and this is during the Vietnam War, so she goes to fight in the Vietnam War, and I'm not gonna talk much about that. It definitely relates a lot to what's going on today, which is also really sad because history repeats itself. Anyway, it talks a lot about PTSD and people coming home from war and women coming home from war and all of that stuff. Content Iron Widow, I would say it's more of an adult book than a young adult book. Maybe you don't read it if you're a Christian. I can't really give specifics because I can't really think of them right now. And then The Woman, again, this is definitely an adult book. It covers a lot of really deep and emotional things that I don't think a lot of younger people can handle. But I am currently sprinting now, and I'm gonna have to take a pause. Anyway, I'm gonna take a pause. Okay, we're back, guys. I did get a tad sidetracked during the sprint. I ended up doom scrolling a little. I'm gonna see everyone's status, and first I'm going to 5, I think, and entire screen, and then record. So Fox has 1 kill, Lethal Kings has 1 kill, Catabasis has 1 kill, Iron Widow is deceased with 1 kill, and Vicious still remains strong with 3 kills, and Vicious is District 12, so that never happens for District 12. Anyway, proceed. Lethal Kings tries to treat his infection. Probably a good idea, especially since I really love this book and it's so underrated. Guys, please read it. This is your sign to read it. I'm going to talk about it later, obviously. Fox loses sight of where he is. If he could see the sun, loses sight of where he is. The Midnight Library is unable to start a fire and sleeps without warmth. Okay. I don't care. Poppy War cries himself to sleep. That's sad. I'm sorry, Poppy War. Vicious begs for one of his lioness to kill him. He reluctantly obliges killing Vicious? I wanted Vicious to win. I was secretly hoping for Vicious to win because I love that book. And Vicious killed 3 people. But I guess they couldn't live without the guilt. With the guilt. Anyway. Catabasis tends to Tempest of Tea wounds. Catabasis, what's up your sleeve? Yeah. Empire of Storms defeats the Burning God in a fight, but spares her life. Proceed. Poppy War searches for water source. Probably a good idea. One of his line attacks Lethal Kings, but he manages to escape. Okay. Good for you, Lethal Kings. Catabasis stalks the Burning God. If you could see the sun, sprains and tinkle, probably good for you if you could see the sun, because you'd be vicious. While running away from Empire of Storms, Tempest of Tea travels to higher ground, and Fox chases the Midnight Library. One person was killed, Vicious from District 12. I'm gonna look at everyone's statuses. So basically, Vicious, we follow Victor and Eli. And basically, they are working together for their senior project. They are college seniors to work on this try to find out how people to try to give themselves superpowers, basically. And they get those superpowers, but the thing is, they are not morally good people. And they have to, and it's such an interesting book. And they have to do other stuff. And they end up as enemies. This isn't much of a spoiler because it time jumps. And yeah, they end up as enemies. And then, so Fox, 1 kill. One of us is lying, 1 kill. Lethal Kings, 1 kill. If you can see the sun, 1 kill. Catabasis, 1 kill. Iron Widow, deceased with 1 kill. Vicious, deceased with 3 kills. And Kingdom of Ash, deceased with 1 kill. Rest in peace, Kingdom of Ash. Go back to Fallen Tributes. And then proceed. Okay, Night 5. Tempest of Tea unknowingly eats toxic berries. I assume they are dead. Midnight Library passes out from exhaustion. Okay. Fox and the Poppy War huddle for warmth. If you can see the sun, climbs a tree to rest. Lethal Kings destroys Catabasis' supplies while she's asleep. Very lethal of you, Lethal Kings. One of us' line goes to sleep. Empire of Storms thinks about home. Aww. Burning God cooks her food while putting her fire out. Honestly, that might be a bit smart, especially since Rin has fire powers. Anyway. Proceed. Ooh, cornucopia is replenished with food supplies, weapons, and memoirs. Memoirs? Huh. Oh, like relics. I was thinking like memoirs as in the book genre, so I was so confused. From the tribute families. The Midnight Library, one of us is lying. If you can see the sun, and Catabasis track down and kill Empire of Storms. What are you doing if you could see the sun? And one of us is lying. And the Midnight Library. You are insane. Fox decides not to go to the feast. That is very good. The Burning God decides not to go to the feast. The Poppy War ambushes Lethal Kings and kills him? That's pretty horrific of you. Horrific. Anyway, proceed. I love being dramatic. Day 6. Poppy War makes a slingshot. Probably good for you. Burning God stalks the Midnight Library. Fox, Catabasis, and one of his line hunt for other tributes. They are going to turn on each other. If you get the sun, searches for firewood. Okay, proceed. Tempest of Tea, dead. Empire of Storms, dead. Lethal Kings, dead. So, Tempest of Tea, we basically follow Arthi, and she runs this like tea shop, and but like it's a tea shop by day and vampire bloodhouse by night. And basically the tea shop is kind of going under now, and like they're under suspicion and stuff. And so she comes up with this heist so that she could get more money in order to save the tea shop. And I didn't really love it. I still think about it a bit. In kind of a positive way, but it feels like a Six of Crows knockoff. It was trying to be Six of Crows and failing. It lacked the writing that Six of Crows needed to make it work. Anyway, Empire of Storms, I'm not going to talk about that because it's the 5th book in a series, and we already talked about that series, and I love my Sarah J. Maas. I know she has her problems, but for the sake of this video, we're going to not think about them. Lethal Kings, District 5. This is probably one of the only ones in this that you probably haven't heard of. It's such an amazing book, and it follows this girl, I forgot her name, and every year, the Fae come down from the Fae world, and we follow this girl, and every year the Fae come and they pick a girl from the country to become queen. And basically, after 2 years, each queen is never to be heard from or seen again. And when our main character goes into the Fae world, she's trying to discover all of the reason why this happens, and is trying to undo it because, she doesn't want to die in 2 years or do whatever, or happen. She doesn't want anything to happen to her within the 2 years. And she navigates a world that is very Fae-like. If you liked the world with the lies and deceit and mind games of The Cruel Prince, you will love this. But if you like a little bit of elements of The Hunger Games, you'll also love this. But it does not feel like a knockoff of either of them. And I love Victoria McCombs. Lethal Kings is book 2 in a series. It's just a duology. And Mortal Queens is book 1. And I wish I would have included Mortal Queens, but nothing can beat Sunrise on the Reaping and Mistborn, at least within that month. Anyway, it's an amazing book, and it's really good. And we're gonna proceed. Night 6. Midnight Library passes out from exhaustion. One of his line begged for Catapacis to kill him. She reluctantly obliges, killing one of his line. Honestly, I kind of knew that something like that would happen. Did one of his line kill someone? I don't know. I'll have to check. Anyway. Fox and the Poppy War talk about the tribute still alive. They're probably trash talking them, which I love the occasional trash talk. If you could see the sun destroys the burning god supplies, well, she's asleep. Rude. Proceed. If you could see the sun steals from Catapacis, well, she's looking. That's sad. The Poppy War steals from Fox while she's looking. No, Fox. Midnight Library constructs a shack. Probably a good idea. You need shelter after being out exposed to the elements all day. The burning god discovers a river. Anyway, I'm gonna take a drink of my boba. Okay. One of his line is dead, and I want to see if they killed anyone. Yeah, they killed 3 people. Probably couldn't live with the guilt. Anyway, one of his line, so basically, 5 students walk into detention room, only 4 students leave. And who could it be? Who could have killed them? And the person who died was not very likable, and they all would have had a motive to kill them. And I'm not gonna say too much about it, but basically we are in all 4 of these people's POVs, and I like how the author starts with having them as stereotypical characters. You have the nerd, you have the popular girl, Jock, the bad boy, and I love how the author slowly breaks down and breaks away from these stereotypes, and they become more than what we see on the surface, and I really like that. that was probably my initial hesitation going into the book, was like knowing that the characters would be very stereotypical, but they're not. And I feel like if you like having stereotypes in your books, like kind of like 2010's Disney Channel, and then but like with more depth, you might like this one. It's like still not gonna be like amazing because it is a young adult thriller and we are following in 4 people's different perspectives, but I'm not gonna share much about it. And it is a series, but like you don't have to continue the series, like if you don't want to. Proceed back to following tributes. Proceed. How many do I have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Fox, and if you can see the sun, talk about the tributes, still alive. Fox, you did that last time, didn't you? Kitaba says receives medical supplies from an unknown sponsor. Okay, that's good. The burning god gently snaps the Midnight Library's neck. Okay. Rin, you could have just burned them. You could have just like set an explosion or something and killed a bunch of other people. But also, Rin is still in here as another book. Imagine if the Poppy War and the Burning God go against each other. Oh my gosh, that would be so interesting. Poppy War thinks about winning. Honestly, so would Rin. Anyway, so we have the Midnight Library is dead. Day 8. Oh, that was in the night. Catopsis scares, if you can see the sun, off. Okay. Fox explores the arena. The Poppy War sets an explosive off, killing the burning god. That's funny, especially considering what I like literally just said. Oh my gosh, that's funny. I love that. I love that for them. I'm checking the time. Hold on. I'll probably be done with this in a few minutes. So we have 4 people left. I'm not going to talk about the Burning God until I talk about the Poppy War. But especially knowing about Rin and her fire stuff. And since like I just said that the Burning God could have just like set an explosion and killed Midnight Library. Okay. Oh, we have 2 like elites, I guess you could say. Burning God, you could have said an explosion because you're from District 3. You're from the literal freaking technology district. Technology. What do you do when you combine, you know, a bunch of wires with fire? Boom! Explosion! Anyway, I love being dramatic, as I keep saying in this video. How many times do I need a dramatic counter where I say the word dramatic? Anyway, so Midnight Library, this isn't the greatest read. I didn't love it, but it definitely had a big impact on me, which if you guys want to know the impact it had on me, I would feel more comfortable if you message me in the Discord, which I will have linked down below in the description. And if it's not in the description, then just go to my channel page and go to my links. It'll be someplace, I promise you. I know for sure it's someplace because like I know I've added it to some of my videos, but anyway, that's beside the point. So basically, the Midnight Library, we follow this woman, I forgot her name, and she's done with life. She commits suicide, and when she does, her soul is taken to this place called the Midnight Library. It's kind of like a place between life and death for people who are like the main character. And so like each book is about a possibility in the main character's life. Like anything that could have happened in her life had she not made certain decisions or had she decided to do something else, like happened, and she gets to, when she reads the book, she gets to live that life, and whenever she feels discontent with that life, she leaves it until she finds one that she decides to stay in. And if she doesn't find to decide to stay in within a certain amount of time, she will die. And it's an interesting read. And then the Burning God. We're not going to talk about that. I want to see the stats. Who has the most kills? One of us is Line, Catapacis, and Vicious have a 3-way tie. And then Poppy War, Fox, and If You Can See the Sun also have kills. I'm rooting for District 11 because District 11 is the underdog, and I like Catapacis. It was good. Obviously, I wouldn't have included it if it weren't in this list. If it weren't good, if I didn't like it. Anyway, proceed. If You Can See the Sun receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor, they'll probably win. And it's a romance. How have you killed that many people as a romance? Fox dies of dysentery. I don't know what that is, but yeah, I'm sad for Fox. Poppy War cooks his food before putting the fire out. That's probably good. And Catapacis dies from hunger. They could have died from hunger and Catapacis, so that's not too far off. Anyway, proceed. If You Could See the Sun traps, kills the Poppy War. Is the Poppy War dead? Is If You Could See the Sun win? If You Could See the Sun won. And it's a romance. It's a romance. It's not a high epic fantasy where people are killing each other. It's freaking cute, okay? Anyway, Fox. So basically this is a historical fantasy where we follow this Guy Fawkes assassination plot. This is like around England during the Civil War. And we follow the son of Guy Fawkes, Thomas. And in this world, everybody gets this mask. And whatever color of the mask is, they get to control the thing of that color. But the thing is, it's passed down like from father to son, mother to daughter. And Thomas's father is very absent. And so he doesn't really get a mask. I don't think. He might have, I don't remember. But that's besides the point. Oh, his mask is what? Is it? No, I don't know. I don't remember. Anyway, and there's this plague that's going around that's turning people to stone, and Thomas has the plague, and like he's very slowly turning to stone, and then he is either run away or kicked out of school, of like high school, and he goes to London to his father, who is trying to plot to assassinate the king. I don't remember which king. I'm gonna look it up. Who did Guy Fawkes try to kill? James I, his family, and the entire Protestant government. Fun. Anyway, so yeah, James I was honestly very problematic from what I remember learning of him. Anyway, that's besides the point. I keep saying that. And then he like joins in this plot to kill the king, and it's very interesting. And then Catapacis, District 11. I'm not gonna go too much into it, but basically, because like I'm sure a lot of you guys will like know what it's about by now, but basically we follow Alice and Peter, and they go into hell to save their professor. That's really all I want to say. That's what like, because like their professor dead, and they are grad students and they are working on their dissertation, and the I'm blanking. I've been talking for too long. This is going to be an insanely long video. And it's by R.F. Kuang. It's becoming a movie, and I'm excited for the movie. Movie or show, I don't know. And then the Poppy War. Basically, we follow Rin, and this is in a world inspired by ancient China, and like each of the provinces is like named after like a Chinese zodiac, which I honestly love. And then what else? Oh yeah, she is from the poorest district, and like her family is her foster family, adoptive family, I don't remember. I'm pretty sure she was adopted, is like very problematic. They don't want her to study and all that, but she still studies, and she wants to get into this specific university. And like in order to do that, she has to take this test, and she passes the test and gets into this university, but like it's basically the Harvard of our world. And then like there's this war going on, and it's like a war college. Half of it is like very much academia vibes, and then the other half is like war vibes. If you were to combine like the beginning of Babel with the last 200 pages of Kingdom of Ash, you get the Poppy War. I love R.F. Kuang. I would say either start with the Poppy War or Babel. Yellowface, maybe you can. That's what I did, and I didn't love it. But also it was my first literary fiction, so it was just okay. And then we're gonna proceed. Yeah, If You Could See the Sun is the winner from District 9. If You Could See the Sun, basically it's a romance. I think we kind of established that. We follow Alice Sun, and she is slowly, literally turning invisible, and her family is kind of struggling, but she's in this like rich high school, like for rich people, and and like this is China where they emphasize a lot of education, and like she really doesn't want to not go to this school, so she learns how to control her invisibility and starts this app where like she does under the hand type of things. So like for example, catching people cheating and doing a lot of like stuff. And then she's working with her academic rival Henry in order to like do this app. And obviously her and the rival, they fall in love, and that's all I'm gonna say. So we're gonna proceed and then proceed again. So district placements 9, 1, 11, 2, 3, 5, 8, 7, 12, 6, 10, and 4. People or book placements. If You Could See the Sun, The Poppy War, Catabasis, Fox, The Burning God, The Midnight Library, One Fist is Lying, Lethal Kings, Empire of Storms, A Tempest of Tea, Vicious. I'm sad that Vicious is so deep down. Same as The Women, which is next. Kingdom of Ash. Also, I loved Kingdom of Ash, so I wish it were higher up. Iron Widow, Binding 13, A River Enchanted, The 7-Year Slip, Red Rising, Defy the Night, Sunrise on the Reaping. Sunrise on the Reaping died at 20th place out of 24. Haymitch could have pulled in for me, okay? It could have been my guy. Queen of Shadows, and then there were none. Mistborn and Swordcatcher. I also wish Mistborn were higher up because I loved Mistborn. And then kills. 3 kills. Vicious, Catabasis, One Fist is Lying, If You Could See the Sun. 2 kills, The Poppy War, with 1 kill each. Fox, Midnight Library, Burning God, Lethal Kings, Kingdom of Ash, and Iron Widow. And then I'm gonna not go back to the reaping, but I hope you guys enjoyed this type of video. In these videos, I try to talk about as much content as I can because as a Christian, I don't like going into books blind with like the content and stuff. But if you enjoyed this type of video, and if you want to see more of me being dramatic, then please hit the like button, subscribe, and comment down below what were your top reads of 2024, and were there any that you were rooting for in this simulation in this game. And I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for staying towards the end. If you guys stay towards the end, comment a book emoji or a party hat emoji to celebrate 2026. Because I know it's like the end of 2026 as I'm filming January 19th. But that's beside the point. Anyway, guys, I love you so much.